Okay, so so that is to start off with. What we're now going to do is we're now going to put in our if. Okay, so what does our if? What if I'm putting an if in? What's this now doing for us? It's a decision. Okay, and when we start looking at sort of algorithms and all that kind of stuff, these are our sort of decisions. If you're looking at flow charts, it's obviously in our diamond shape. And if you're looking at sort of pseudocode, you'll literally put if. Okay. So if guess equals 2. Now don't forget that there's a little misconception there. Okay. Because we've got a variable, we use 1 equal sign when we're doing a comparison. Okay, this is called a comparison operator. So that means then we're going to have that in there, which is our 2 equal signs. They're the two main differences. Okay. Yeah. So we've got equals 2. It will be gloomy. I'm not looking forward to playing rugby in this weather, to be honest with you, tomorrow, to be fair. So it will be gloomy. Okay. And now I'm going to put in print speech marks. That is correct. You 100% live in the UK. Okay. Else print you 100% live outside the UK. Okay. Now, real basic sort of selection and sequence. Small little misconceptions when you are teaching it is what you'll find is students will miss off certainly the 2 equal signs. Okay, they will either put sort of 1 equal sign and then it's then declaring a variable, so then it gets really confused. What they will also do is they might forget the colons at the end. Okay. What you could do as well, we could obviously add in more sort of if statements inside of there. That will give us more options. Okay. So when I run it, so for me, I'm just going to run it. Okay. What is the weather going to be like today? It will be gloomy. Enter. You 100% live in the UK. Now, if I now do that again, and if I go, it will be sunny. Okay. What that will now do is that will now say you want to live outside of the UK. Okay. And that is this is now how we start looking at the basics. Now, this is where now, as a teacher, okay, so when now as a teacher, you guys then would say, okay, guys, how can we simplify this down? How can I simplify this to make it more robust? Because what if now I just put in gloomy? If I say it's going to be gloomy, what do we think the output's going to be? You live outside of the UK, okay? Which then that means, going back to our GCSE spec, this is then not a robust program, is it? Okay, this is not a robust program. So, what I would like us now to do is, starting obviously there, we use elif, guess equals 2. I would like you to put in another 3 or 4 sort of options, okay, while I just go around the now. Another 3 or 4 options, but let's try and make it a bit more robust, please. Okay, what I mean by robust, don't forget, is to make sure that if I just put in gloomy, okay, it should spit out the correct answer. If it doesn't, then obviously it's not a robust program. On the GCSE spec, it always talks about robust programming. That works. That's probably year 9 work that. Okay. But when you move then into GCSE, how can we make it robust? How can we make it not break? Basically, all right. So I'm going to leave that up there for you. I'm just going to go around and help. Is everyone happy with that? Yeah. Okay. So let's do it. Let's put in more some more elifs, and then let's just see what it is. Don't forget, elif stands for else if. Okay. It's just another version of an if statement, basically. Okay. So let's have a little look at that. So I'm just going to go around. I'm going to give you 5 minutes just to have a little go at that yourself. Okay. Is everything working over here? So far, so good. Marvelous. more sort of elements, yes, inside of there, yeah. They obviously are more sort of solutions. How do you mean, okay? Okay, so an elif will give us another option, whereas else means if you have got an if and an else, right? An else means anything else. So it's not in the predefined sort of it'll give us the last answer. So it doesn't matter what we put in, we could put in sort of some kind of gobbledygook. It then would just spit out that. Okay? No, exactly, yeah, exactly, yeah. A lot of programs, when they have an else, will be try again or something like that. But then it doesn't meet the criteria above it. Exactly. So now if gas equals 2, so I put it will be gloomy. What I might put is it will be sunny. It could be scorching. Yeah. And then you could say, if it's scorching, you could live in Australia. In Australia, that's not the way at the moment. So. Yeah, the only okay. If it's not underneath it directly, it sort of gets confused, yes, because it doesn't know what you're trying to ask the question. Yeah. Hold on. And if I send it, you can print out a little message just saying it's in Australia or something like that. Or you are in Australia, or if Australia's gone through a bit of a heat wave at the moment. That's your rubbish in the gym, yeah. That's it, yeah. That's fine. That's fine because it doesn't, if I put anything else other than it'll be gloomy or sunny, it'll just say you definitely live outside of it. You put yes on a player, and you play it, try it, put in sunny, you were in Australia. If you then rerun that, and then put in it'll be gloomy. That was gloomy wrong. That's the elements of robust programming, isn't it? Again, robust because you put a space at the end. Honest to God, this is what students will do automatically. And it's anything, if you're getting, that's okay. There you go. Does that make sense? Yeah? Yes. 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 As long as it's above the else, as long as above the else is fine. Will always get plus. Okay, yeah? So have a look at yourself. Yeah, and I see you later. Okay? That guys, are we doing all right here? Okay? Yeah. Smashing it? Yeah. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, so just going round, I've just seen a few small little misconceptions. The first one is, don't forget, your if statement is querying your input. So don't forget, a query is a question. So my if and elif has got to be underneath my input, on the same line underneath. If I indent that one, okay, let's just get rid of this line. If I just get rid of this line, and I just put a space there, okay, what will actually happen is I will now get a runtime and it'll stop and run. I will now get an error. And it'll actually tell you, Python's pretty good at that. And what it's actually telling me is unexpected indent. Okay? And it'll actually tell you the line. Okay? So sometimes when students are sort of working with this, what you'll find is they get rid of this, say, I'm doing this, and start. Don't worry about it, okay? The first thing, and I've observed plenty, I've been teaching now sort of 10, 11 years now. What you'll find is teachers will sit with the students, do it for them and go, right, it's fixed now, and just sort of walk away. Yeah? If you can, okay, sometimes if you don't know the sort of the problem, what I would do is I would refer the students back to someone else who I know is working and say, why don't you have a look at their program? You've got 5 seconds, go and have a look at their program, and then go back and sort of try and compare. Okay. Also, if you can spot the error, all you'd say is, and this is why I like to use a PyCharm, because it'll actually sort of give me the line numbers. In normal Python IDE, you've got to set it up that way. But whereas I'll use PyCharm in all of my lessons, because I'll say, oh, I think you've got an error on line number, look. You might have an error on line number, what's that, line number 3. Okay, have a look to see where you've got line number 3, have a look, see what it will do. Now, Python's pretty good, because in the IDE, what it'll actually do is all the keywords, it'll change it in different colour. So you know, if you put a capital I for if, it won't change colour. So that's your first thing that you should go, right, bam, straight away. Yeah? And just say, how about that spelling? If you look at the one on the board and look at mine, how about that? Okay, this is you can structure a lesson all you want, you can do all that, but you will get errors. You will get students who struggle with stuff like this. Okay, and it's how you will overcome them. Now, what I will always refer the students back to is I will always refer the students back to how to debug it themselves. Because otherwise, if you're running around, you're working harder than the students. Okay, at the end of it, you will have probably done a marathon. Yeah, because literally, imagine, oh yeah, you're constantly putting out fires. It's not what you want. Yeah, you should just be facilitating it. Now, if you guys ever come to watch me teach with, say, my year 11 computer scientists, they don't even talk to me when they're in the program up until they're really struggling. And they go, say, I've done this, this, and this. I'll always say to them, what have you done before you've asked me? And the students say, well, I've just got this error, so put my hand up. Hold on, I'm going to walk away. I want you to try X, Y, and Z. And I'll just walk away. It'll then build up the resilience in the students. Now, for some of you in here, later on, you will get some errors. That's what I'll be doing with you. Try and work out yourself. Okay, ask someone else. Theirs is working, so just trying to look at theirs. Maybe compare it to mine on the board. That way, then you're not running around all the time going, oh, why am I going to see you? All of a sudden, your head will just go. But what you'll find is, if you go around to 3 or 4 students and they've got the same error, stop the class. I'll say, right, guys, listen, I've just spotted a few common misconceptions. Stop. Okay, we use Impero in our school, so I just Impero onto their screens and go, right, stop what you're doing. There's a bit of an error here, what's happening? And what you'll find is the students who understand it will put their hand up and go, so you're having fancy to go back one because that's querying. Okay, yeah, fine, let's do it. All of a sudden the students will go, oh. And then that sort of light bulb moment. So you're not sort of running around loads, and that's common. And especially when you're flustered, that then makes the students more flustered because it's like, oh, Miss or Sir doesn't know what to do, and you're like, oh, you're sweating, what's going on here? Yeah, so just keep that in mind when you're sort of teaching it. Okay, I think you're smiling, you've probably done it. Yeah, there you go, yeah. So how have you taught Python?
It's like anytime they're struggling, the iPod method's great. I literally stick up on the board and I'm like, everyone's on this one, so let's go through it. What's the input?
Yeah.
And then the people that, like the teacher, the mentor is like in the class is like, they're usually like lower ability pupils, so the fact they're able to actually answer the questions and know the input, blah, blah, blah. So not, yeah.
And what you'll find, the students might just get one LF in there. That's fine for them. Some students who are top of the class will probably get 10 in there. That's fine for them. Have they all achieved? Yes, they have. You're still going to have that sort of scaffolded approach, aren't you? Where you still need that sort of level, but you're still going to get students who aren't going to smash it and get like sort of 10 out of 10, for instance. They're not going to, but you've scaffolded it and let them sort of learn off each other. Okay. Has anyone else ever done that when they're teaching Python or whatever? Or yeah. So what have you done when you were teaching it?
No, when I was teaching Python, like one of the class weren't getting it, and I just felt like I was being shocked around, and it was all the indentation.
Yeah.
Because they just had them all over the place.
Yeah. And what you'll find is if they don't understand the indentations, that's a main misconception. And if you don't understand that, you can't move on. So if you're running around a place, just stop the class. Even if you don't get through the whole, it's fine. You've dealt with that misconception, so now at the end of the lesson it'll run smoother because then say this is going in the, I've just shown you what to do. Can you remember? Oh yeah, yeah. All of a sudden, then you're not running around, because what you find is computing teachers will work harder than students, and it should be the other way around. It should be the other way around. It sometimes doesn't work like that, I understand, but certainly with this, it's got to be the other way around. Students got to be working harder than us. Okay, good. So now we've got that. What I'm now going to do is, and I'm just going to leave my program like that, because I'm I'm a grade 1 sort of GCSE student. I'm happy with that. That's fine, no problem at all. What I'm now going to do is, before we sort of copy what I'm doing, I'm just going to sort of write a few lines. Okay, and I'm just want to see what sort of what you guys think this is. Yeah, what have I just done there? Create a function. Is it a function? I've given it a name, yes. I've defined it, yes, which is the def, yes. What, sorry? I haven't closed it off. Explain to me what you mean I haven't closed it off. Have I opened it up? I've defined it, yeah. That doesn't mean I've opened it up. No. That in syntactual language is fine. But what is it? A subroutine, yes. It's not a function. A function, there's two different types in GCSE. There's a function and there's a procedure. What's the difference between the two? Does anyone know? No? A function returns a value. So if I want to have that as a subroutine, a function will return a value. So technically now I can go in here now and I'll just go to return guess. That then will turn it into a function. Okay? Some people are thinking, what is that? What is it? Okay, so let me explain. Okay? What I am doing now is, okay, and I will just want to stay here because this is on the GCSE spec. Every student needs to know. Okay, and I'm just going to put in fact, what I'm going to do to start off with is, I'm just going literally jumped off my chair. It's okay. That's okay. Okay. So, you know, one thing I haven't done is I haven't put that back just yet. Right. Okay. So my program now is running nothing. Okay, my program is technically now, it's working. It's now running nothing. Okay. Why is that fun?
I don't know why, but how do you...
Okay, just to say whatever you think.
So you've defined it as guess,
Yes.
and then in your brackets you've got nothing in it, but you need a parameter or...
So yes, but technically, before I put a parameter in, there's two differences: a parameter and there's an argument. So there's a parameter in here, and there's an argument in somewhere else. I know it's Friday morning, but I'm trying to get you to think a little bit harder. So you can put a parameter in. Okay. Does anyone know what a parameter and argument is? No. If you don't know, it's fine. No problem at all. This has now got no parameter in it. Okay, so what I'm now doing is this piece of code is now a function because I'm returning guess back out of this program. Okay, imagine up here. Okay, and I'm just going to do this in layman terms, how we'll do it in school. This is now my main program. Okay, this inside of here is my subroutine. Okay, what I will do is instead of using parameters and arguments, I will just use that as just a purely procedure. So a procedure, what that will do is that will enable me to just run something. Okay? That will enable just to run something. But what will happen is, because I've got nothing up here, the program doesn't know what to run. So this sub-program, like has been defined before, is a program that I can just call whenever I want. This is going back to this idea of roadless programming. This is going back to the idea of thinking about how I can put in sort of a program that won't break, basically. All right. So by doing that, my program, my Python IDE hasn't got a clue what's inside of here because I've not told it to run it. I've not told it to run guess. I've not told it to run guess. Okay? And the way we tell it to run guess is like this. Okay, I'm just going to change this a little bit. I'm just going to put guess, guess weather. Okay? And then what I will now do is there, underneath that subroutine, I'll put guess weather. Okay, and now I'll run it. And now it'll run guess weather. Okay? What would happen now if I put guess weather in again? It'll run it twice. So once it ran it once, it'll run it again. It'll run it again. It'll then run it again. What it could do if you really wanted to, how could I make that a bit more efficient? So if I wanted that program, that subroutine, to run constantly, what could I then do? A while loop, thank you very much. So what I would now do is I would do a while true. I would now bring that in one. So now, so if I run that, because that was ran previously, I just put any gobbledygook in, it'll stop. Okay? If I now do this, and I put in any gobbledygook, it'll carry on running, it'll carry on running, carry on running, it'll carry on running, carry on running. Okay? And this is going back to this element of effective programming, but also when we start looking at robust programs and start looking at how can I program more efficiently. Okay, you see that across the spec all the time. Efficient. What does efficiently mean? What is efficient? Okay, what is efficient? Well, efficiency basically means in programming, I've got that, and I might need to use that, let's just say 10 times in various places in my program. All I would now do, instead of rewriting that over and over again, I just use that one word, open and close brackets. Okay, so ignore parameters, ignore arguments. Okay, that's sort of high level again, and we're going to touch on that later. But just get that in and understand what that's doing. If I wanted to loop this round, say 6 times, what would I change that while true to? 4. So what would that line look like?
4 less than 6.
4 less than 6.
Like 4.
Oh, less than 6.
Less than.
Is it? No, it's a for loop. I think we're all complicated.
Don't repeat the question.
If I want to loop this program out 6 times, just 6 times, in the range of 6 times, what would I do?
For I to 5.
Yeah, close. We would do for I range, brackets, and then just put 6. Or 1 to 6. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't.
That way, yes.
Why have we said while true? Why have we used that word true?
So while it's true basically means Python will automatically think something is true.
Okay.
So if I want something just to loop around just constantly, I'll just set it to true.
So for any program, I'd say while true if I wanted to.
It just constantly loop, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. To go to sort of A-level programming, you would use that as a flag. Okay, which is true or false. So what would happen is, imagine I wave a flag. Another way, let's just say I'm in the war. Okay, back in the day, if I wave a white flag, okay, what am I doing?
Surrender.
I'm surrendering. I'm stopping on it. Okay. So a flag in Python will use while true. Okay, so while something is true, do this. But you would not use while true, you'd use while false. So while it's false, keep doing it. And then what will then happen is, if you want to wave the flag, yeah, you will then say while equals true. And then it'll stop the program. But that's A-level stuff. That's like sort of, I mean, my 11 GCSE students do touch on that, and I've got some pretty decent students in there who will use that. But I don't want to get sort of too bogged down with it, just looking at basic iteration to start off. Okay, so that's basically our while true. Now, again, let's see if that works. Okay, so let's just see if I can put 4 iron range. So 4 iron range, brackets 6. Okay, let's just test it. And again, you can use these as like little extension tasks for the students. So just say, if I want this to loop around constantly, what will you do? Obviously, make sure you've taught for and while loop beforehand. then the students will know that a while loop is condition controlled because the true is a condition. Okay, the true is a condition. Again, think of that flag. Okay, that's how I always teach it. Think of the flag. While it's true, carry on going. Okay, while a boxer is not knocked out, carry on fighting. While something is less than 90, for instance. Okay, so I'm playing rugby at the weekend. That's out of 80 minutes. But while it is less than 80, keep playing rugby. Only until it goes to 80, wave the flag, the whistle blows. I can then go and live in an oxygen tent for sort of half an hour or so, just to get myself sort of back living again. Any questions? Okay, the I. Yeah, again, it doesn't actually matter what it is. Okay, it's just if I put 4K for loop, doesn't actually matter what it is because I put a 4 at the start, and then all it'll say is I'm then just going to loop that round multiple times. So I is a common practice sort of. If you think of standards in programming, you will always use an I. Okay, what we're going to do later, we're actually going to do a nested for loop. So we use I and we use K. Yes, because that I will relate to just that one loop itself. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's just a variable name. Imagine that as just a variable name. Yeah, exactly. And you're going to use that as a sensible name. That sort of program will tell me what the weather is, or we are guessing what the weather is.
So you put the line 40 and line 12 so that if you have written hundreds of lines of code and wanted to refer back to that, you don't have to write it all, you just need to write.
Just that one word, which is, where is it? Guess weather.
So anywhere in your code, if you indent and then put guess weather, it'll run that.
Not in. So this is only indented because I've got a for loop. If I got rid of that, I would have to put that back to the start. That's all.
So if you had like a completely random code,
yep.
But you still have that somewhere,
yeah.
So it was just something completely different,
yeah.
And then you put guess weather.
It would just run that program.
That little one.
Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't matter where you are in that whole programming sort of IDE. You are then allowed to call back from there. That's why it's so efficient. Instead of, if I wanted to use that again and it didn't use functions, didn't use procedures, I would then have to retype that all again. Does that make sense? So instead of us having sort of that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, them 6 lines of code, imagine I want to loop that round, say 10 times. That's 60 lines of code. But instead, if I want to loop that round 10 times now, I'm only using what? Probably, in fact, if I get rid of all that, I'm only using probably 9 lines of code. Oh, no. So again, that is how efficient programming will actually work. Does everybody understand that? Has anyone got any questions at all? Anyone struggling with that concept, or has everyone got that yet? So have a little go, have a little play, see what we can do. Okay. What I want you now to do, I'm just going to give you 5 minutes. Make a new subroutine yourself. Make a new subprogram yourself. Okay. That program can do anything. Don't do it the one. And I want you to call one subroutine and then call the next subroutine, please. Okay? Let's have a go. Not too bothered what it does. If you want to do another sort of like a question, what day is it today? What colour is the sky? Well, it's grey at the moment, to be fair, but hopefully it's going to be blue at the weekend. Yeah, you can get a picture. I'm not too fussed what the program is. Let's just try and apply that knowledge to another subroutine, and let's try and run it in a sequence underneath. Okay? So I should then have you should have then guess weather, and then you'll have another one. Small little misconception, try and make sure all your subroutines are together, and at the bottom of the program, just call the functions wherever you need. Okay? So let's have a go.
Because it looks from the bottom up.
Yeah, exactly. So because Python is an interpreter, so what it'll do is it'll do it all, and then it'll then go right, that's it, and that refers back to the top. It's got to read the program first so it understands what it's doing.
Okay.
If you call it at the top, it doesn't understand where it's going because it'll stop there.
Oh, okay.
The program will actually stop there. Does that make sense? Yeah. so once this is recorded, I'll then put this on YouTube
Oh, okay.
when I get home, because I'm only on the mobile days at the moment. So once I get home, I'll put it on, and then you'll know. In fact, I'll send it around in actually.
All right.
And then everyone can sort of see that.
So what we're doing in this is going to be like
All this is. So we'll have this. We're now going to go through a random number. Then we'll do a locking system. Then we'll do a little troubleshooting. The last sort of hour or so is going to be very much coding, but we're going to the basics first before we can go full speed. So if you put def right at the start, yeah, there you go, and then whatever it is. That's it. Yeah, so that's actually a good question. That. When I use a variable inside of this subroutine, it's a local variable, so it'll just be used inside of here. Okay? That means I can use it wherever I need to. But is that wise? Not really. Okay? Because then you get confused later on when you might want to use things. So I would always say to students, it will still logically work, but still try and use different variables and different subroutines, because then you know what each one means. Okay?
There's a way to make them public though, isn't it?
Yeah, you just got to declare them at the top. So all you do is sort of guess will equal to 0, and then you're declaring it then at the top. That's all that is. So just a couple more minutes, guys. Again, you can literally just copy and paste that function and just change out the variables and change out the names. That's fine. You don't have to retype it again. And then once it's done, run it. I would applaud everyone to, once you've done something, run it, test. That way then it'll get you into the mold, and it'll force the students then to get into the mold as well. If anyone needs any help, let me know.
fancy coffee table, so
That's
it's
what I'm
small.
saying.
Really?
Is it like? Oh, I know. It's like 229. Sure. I did.
I normally have to be quite
The age,
It's very strange this year.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, guys, one more minute and then we'll move on.
It's not hard for my sleeping that. I don't know rain sleep when I'm like sleeping.
It was nice because
Watch bed, like we watch the
we obviously spent
It doesn't phase me. I can't wear socks.
serious. To be honest with you, I've spent more time with them than I ever thought I would do because of COVID. I was at home for 6 months, I was at home for another sort of 3 months. So I didn't. Yes. Because you're falling inside of the function there. So if we stop that there, I don't know what to put that there. Can't be that hard. And paste on there. Right, there we go. Obviously, because of the sequence, you've got the same thing there. Okay? Because all it'll do is if you put that there, it'll stop the AC the program. And just carry on running and running. Okay? So you'll always hold it off. And it'll run that. So what will happen is you do that.
On your level.
Just anything.
Boolean logic.
And now what I'll do is get it over there, and then it'll come back there automatically because it'll start to run around it.
All the time, it's exciting.
It's hard, that topic, I think, to make it exciting. Christmas was really good.
What was your subject again?
Yeah, so
Really good. Just come on.
what will happen is
Just don't talk, get them on.
You're lucky that if the logic gates on, oh my god.
Logic gates is a hard
and
one.
once it's running,
Because the class you were, they had to go back a week.
I did
And
think.
I was taking another year class in logic gates, and I was sitting there going,
Just like,
So you
why
want
do
this
you
to be around there? or not? Is that what your question was?
I think it's hard. I know you guys are doing the ones.
Oh, yeah. A year now.
Okay. Then it'll read all of it. Yesterday, it'll then
Send it
finish
to
on that, it'll then do that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah. And that's kind of how the
Whatever you're ready, whatever you're ready.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's all right. We have to see it first.
Then that means that whenever you're testing it,
I'm trying to put that on, but mine doesn't work.
is it like 2 or?
It is.
So you need to do.
Yeah, no, no.
Like, is it yeah.
Oh, it's just not working.
That's it. And I would have three quadrants. It'll try to move it around.
So you need to.
They can observe the uppercase or lowercase.
While three, I am doing this.
No, I'm not working on my laptop.
You don't want anything to do with it. So you're doing.
I'm just non-stop the word, not
So you want them to guess the number and you want to check it again.
Yeah.
So they've had your arsenal. We went that again to this end, so you expect to stay like that.
Right, they're going to move on.
Yeah. Is it?
Yes. Yeah. Okay,
This
it's
here.
dot, type. At the end of the input line. At the end of the input line, I'll do it now. Okay.
See what it prints out.
Thank you, cheers. Nice to see you anyway, yeah. I think the reason why I couldn't recognise you was because of your That's because you just kind of get used to eyes, don't you? That's it nowadays.
Good luck you
Just have a nice little question there about input sanitization, it's called. Okay? If I sanitize something, what am I doing? Clean it up, yeah, okay, we all know we're cleaning it up. So what we're now doing is we're now going to clean our inputs. It's the last thing we want to do, and then we're going to move on to our actual three programs. This is the sort of base, and this is what you'll be doing in schools just to get the students confident. I'd like to think we're all quite confident now at sort of understanding roughly what that is, yeah? So, input sanitization and input validation. Input validation and sanitization is key because that's part of the GCSE spec as well. Okay? So I'm now going to sanitize now my input. So imagine this is all lowercase. I'm just going to change this now to gloomy. Okay? I'm now going to right click and I'm going to run. Okay? If I put this now as capital G for gloomy. Oh, I'll put a hashtag at the end. Let's redo that again just so you can see it properly. It's not what my program's asking for, is it? Okay? I'll put a capital G there, haven't I? Okay? So what this will now do is we now need to sanitize our input. So we need to put it to what case? Upper, lower, or a title? Lower, don't we? So what we now do is a little cheat that works really well. At the end of your input line, just put dot lower, open and close brackets. And now what that'll do is, if I put capital gloomy, it's fine, it still works. It'll change it to lowercase. If I want uppercase, what do you think it might be? If we want it to be a title, what do you think it might be? Title? Upper, lower, or title? Okay?
Is that title a mix?
So title would be if I put a capital G there. Oh, yeah.
Right, just the first one.
So imagine we've got a title, we'd always have a capital letter there. Yeah. You've got to sanitize the input line. That's what we're sanitizing. So whatever we input, we are sanitizing that line, aren't we? Okay. So have a little go. Right, let's get my PowerPoint up and let's see what we were going to do today. Hope I've not lost everyone just yet. I might do it at the end of the day, but we'll see what happens. Okay, is that working, yeah? Cool. So, I'm just going to make a little main menu system now. Okay, and this main menu system is going to run throughout our whole program. This main menu system will have our four programs in because we've just made one there today, haven't we? Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. Okay, and I'm just going to be typing away. I've only got one subroutine. You should have two, correct? So you should have two sort of defs in there. Above that, what I'm going to do is this: def menu, open and close brackets. Okay, and now I'm going to do this. Menu choice equals to input. What program would you like to run? Okay, now up above there, I'm just going to put in a few prints. So I'm going to put print. What's that? So A equals to guess the weather. Print B equals to dice roll. Print C equals to what was it on that we were going to do? Can't remember now. Troubleshooting and login system, wasn't it? Print D troubleshooting system. Okay. Now once I've done that, okay, great, and it's going to be if menu choice equals to A. I'm going to use capitals above there. I'm going to put dot upper just so you can see my validation. The next thing I'm now going to do is this. I'm going to look at that and go, if A, then I want to run guess whether. Elif menu choice equals to B. I'm going to run dice roll. Dice roll frog, I'm going to call it. Elif menu choice equals to C. What's C? Troubleshooter. No, sorry, login. Login system. Elif menu choice equals to D. What was D again? Troubleshooter. Troubleshooter. Right, okay. Now I'm going to put in a little else. And print incorrect choice. Now, once you've now done that, you'll see this. Now, for this now to work, for this program now to work, I need to put these functions in. Okay, so I'm just going to put them in. Let's put in login. Was it? I think I called it login system, wasn't it? Print login system. Just put login. Because obviously we're now going to sort of build them now. Def. Dice roll prog. Troubleshooter. Okay. So the reason why I have to put something in is, if you leave them blank and you call them, you'll get an error because there's nothing actually inside the subroutine. So I'm going to put in a print because that's a program. The computer will sort of run that. Okay. So now, you know what I'm going to do? Do you mind if I just decrease the size of this just so you can see it? People in the cheaper seats at the back, can you just tell me when you can't, struggling to see it? Do you know what I'm going to do? Let's just go into view, appearance, let's exit that. View, appearance, enter presentation mode. So that should, can everyone see that okay, yeah, on the board? So I have got this now. I now need to run my menu system, okay? Now, when I run this, it'll now run my program, okay? I put in A, it'll then run that program, okay, and then it'll end. But I'm now going to loop it back around now to our menu system. How can I loop that round back to our main menu system? Nope. How can I reopen that main menu subroutine? So it's got to be at the end of this. All we now do is this. Just go back to the main menu. Okay. Nice and straightforward, that isn't it? Yeah. So literally, once I have ran that program, which is this, it'll run through that and go main menu. Let's run the main menu. Does that make sense? Yeah. So literally on every subroutine that you do, if you take it back to the main menu, this is now making a robust system, isn't it? Because once I've done my guess whether, I might want to do my login system. I might then want to do my troubleshooter. I might then want to do my dice roll. I might want to do that kind of stuff. Okay. It's a nice little neat way on how to sort of teach it. Okay. So if I leave that there as a main menu system, let's have a go. On some IDs, what they might do, depending on what you're using, you might have to put the def menu right at the very, very bottom. So you might have to put all of this at the bottom. Some IDs prefer you to put everything at the bottom rather than at the top, basically, because it'll run from the top down. Let's just have a go. And again, you can word anything inside the speech marks as much as you want. If you want to be a rebel and call it dot lower, you can do it dot lower as long as inside the speech marks on your if statement, it is a lowercase, not an uppercase. Okay? This is now just getting ready now for our other 3 programs. And then we'll make a big sort of beach program, and then you guys then will have this with all of the 3 programs in it. That should, in theory, answer the assessment this afternoon. So don't forget, the students, when they get an error, they will look inside the speech mark and say, "Sir, I have misplaced system." Doesn't matter. Anything inside the speech marks, that just looks at it as a string. String is obviously is letters or characters, so that will then only read that. Okay.
This afternoon in the library, by the way.
All right. Okay.
Who were we last time?
I want to win. I'll hopefully follow because then hopefully everyone's sort of is going on the can't see it after they like. Well, this was the next time of my week while you're typing. I got £1,700 robbed out my bank.
No way.
So my card got cancelled, on Tuesday. So currently got like 40 quid in my wallet, and then I walked upstairs to get a coffee. He said, "Yeah, I'm going to take card." I went, "What?" But I didn't realise me Apple Pay with it, so I thought, "Oh, that's what I did," you know what I mean? But I thought, I was in a local pub with sort of Hannah and the kids. We were just having a bite to eat and stuff when I finished work, and I paid for the food. It was like £4 or whatever it was, and then all of a sudden I got a phone call back. He said, "Mr. Rooney, I hear you've got English Ireland sound." I said, "Yes." "Well, apparently you just paid £1,700 to a car dealership in Australia."
Oh, no way.
I said, "What?" So I paid for someone's car over in Australia. As it happened, they blocked the transition. I paid for sort of extra security, like, you know what I mean? But so they blocked my card, everything, and then they sent bullets in the house. They come back, well, it's frozen and everything. But I think I got an email yesterday saying it's all okay. We've sorted out your security and stuff with your card in the house. But I got to the cost of this morning. Yeah. I'll look coffee, I'll finish off some school stuff, all of a sudden I went, "Oh!" So I don't know how I got done, Mike, but it
Really?
really, yeah. But so it's good. I thought it was weird because I went in I need a USB-C plug to put like a charger in. So I went on Amazon to buy one, and it said declined. So, oh well, I'm just running out anyway, so should be back paying money in. So what's going on here? Anyway, I got the phone call now. I see that you're going to be paid. I said, "Yes, I'm calling the baker's dozen now on the fridge. I look quite super family wife." I said, "Well, congratulations, you just bought a car in Australia." That's all lovely. I said, "What car is it?" Of course it will, yes. Is everyone okay with the top bit, yeah? If I just put that there, yeah? So literally we're going to program inside of them now. We're going to do a program inside of each one of them now. Alright? Yeah, that's what we've done. So just 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to do I will write the login system. So I'll write the dice roll first, so you can understand it, and then you guys then can sort of write it in and ask some questions on it. I'll do the same with the login system, and then we'll do the troubleshooting. Now, just so you know, all these programs that I'm doing today are currently in the resource bank as well that I've logged in. I think Patrick added me to it was before Christmas, mate, wasn't it? Yeah. So literally, I've put in all my lessons from computer science, and I've also put in every single program. There's about 150 odd programs inside that resources thing as well. Not yet, loads, but obviously not the solution to today's challenge. I'll put that in at the end. Okay. it's in, you know, the Google Drive that we've got. Patrick had me to it.
So she's been called in to do QA.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so we have to do all curriculum tests.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I have to do a handbook as well.
All right.
When the handbook is about computer science, basically my plan. So she had an interview with me and she asked me these questions. So she's observing whether we quality assurance us what we're saying, what we're saying we're doing with regards to the map.
Yeah.
Basically. So I said, well, on my map it says there's opportunities for other people to come in. So where's it fit in? So we went out and joined us like in December, so we said we've got like X amount. So this goes on the students have highlighted.
What's it saying when you do it?
We were supposed to get to Cassidy and Clayton, but
You'd actually define the menu itself. Or you need to call the menu. So at the bottom I have the menu function. So it goes to the map. You're not currently on it.
I'll let you do
But put it at the top, you want it to call first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And on it,
Is that what she wrote there? Is it?
That's what I'm doing.
All right.
I'll
Okay.
take that.
So hopefully next week it's a dollar then for you.
Yeah. So she's going to talk to me now about.
I mean, how rubbish I am.
Basically, I've said what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It's subject expertise.
Yeah.
And what are the students getting out of it? How do they learn this? By repeating it. So they're competent teaching it in school.
That's all it is.
That's all it is. It's not just getting it for the sake of it. It's actually.
you've called it here.
This isn't like learning theory.
It doesn't.
They can learn what CPU does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they need to learn how to debug and how to kids debug. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because it's all right doing this, but you go, if something goes wrong, that's when it's it.
And likewise for the second one.
It'd be interesting to see what you know. I was quite I was alright in school as well, like I think.
So I said, just how it fits in. So if you want me to change it, I'll do a different section for them. Keep it as nice. Otherwise, I'm seeing that from the That's fine, yeah. So she'll give me feedback.
So how do we call the function?
Okay,
So what are you calling it? You're calling it there. So get rid of that. Now. Subroutine. Football team is that higher because that isn't there. Yeah. Yeah. So because you're not running hours, what are you? Yeah, absolutely get rid of that as well. There you go. Right, okay guys, so let's get rocking and rolling now. What I'll do is, again, I'm going to do the troubleshooting system. Now, okay, so I've pre-programmed these and I put them all in the thing, okay? And what I want to do is, there's a couple of different ways you can go about this. There's one way you can use a graphical user interface. There's other ways where you can add in other things as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the code that I've put, and I've put it here on my iPad. I'm going to type it out, okay, as it is. That will be in the resources, okay, later on, just so it's the same, all right. But what you'll find is we've done most of the bits anyway. We have done most of it. The way I've programmed it in here is I've added in arguments and parameters, okay, which might be a little bit too much just yet. But I will put that inside of the thing just so you can see what it is, okay? I'm just going to run it inside obviously this function to start off with. So again, just if you want to make notes or you just want to listen and watch, that's fine, no problem at all. So at the very top, we're going to import random. And what that import random will do is that's an external library. Now this is made by Python developers, okay? Because Python's an open source language. You can make your own libraries and then upload them to Python, and then you can then use them libraries. That's how a lot of people will do them, okay? So I'm just using import random. This is a pretty basic one, but as I said to you, this is used inside of the GCSE spec. Okay, so this is right at the top. If you want to import anything, in fact, you know, I will do. In fact, no, I won't just yet. So the next one is I'm going to put in. I need to put in 2 inputs. So I need to ask how many dice I've got, and I also need to ask how many sides of the dice they are, because you can obviously get different sides of dice, can't you? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to put in this. Now, what? Sorry. Ah, that's why. Thank you. So I'm going to put in this. Dice. I'm going to put sides equals 2. Now, because I need a number, I'm going to use integer. So we've always just used strings recently, okay? This is called casting, so we're going to make sure we change the data type to match up with the data type that we want to input. Because what will happen is if I don't put int now, the int, what will actually happen is it will automatically look at the number as a string, and it won't work because it gets confused. Python's pretty stupid like that. Because to our brains, a number's a number, isn't it? Okay, you can't add a number to a letter as an example when you want to concatenate. It doesn't work. That's what I'm doing now. Yeah. So we've got int and then input. Okay. So again, inside of here, I'm going to just put in a question. How many sides does it have? Okay. Then we have got above there. Actually, I'm going to put dice num equals to int input. Okay. How many dice do you have? Okay. Pretty straightforward so far, yeah. So again, that int, that's a keyword. That's our integer. If you don't have that, that then will only look at it as a string. Okay. Now inside of here, if you notice, I've got 2 brackets at the end because I've opened up 2 brackets. Again, thinking of when if you're programming this, if you guys teach GCSE computer science, this is on the spec. This is what it's needed. This is what it's how it's needed to be displayed. If they don't close off the 2 brackets in the exam, they will not get the marks. Okay, so just a little misconception. Just think, how many brackets have we opened up? Right, I just need to close them at the end. Okay, that's where the sort of your students who are pretty good at maths, for instance, they will be pretty good at this. Students who might be quite weak academically, they'll just think, I've just closed that off now with just 1 bracket, but obviously then it won't work. All right. Now, inside of my one I've put on there, I've used a for loop. Now, my for loop will run for the number of dice. So I'm going to do this multiple times. Okay. So it looks something like this. So I'm going to put for I in range. For I in range. And this should be the length. Have I put the length? Oh no. Dice num. On the program that I've used here, I've got different variable names. Okay, but it still will work exactly the same way. All right. Mine are a little bit far-fetched because I was sort of doing it last week. So once we've now got this, once you've got this, we now need to obviously print our sort of results. Okay, we need to print our results. So what I'm now going to do is, so let's just say I have got, I now need to put in randin. So result will equal to, and then I've put in random dot randint. Now, what that will do is that's calling the library at the top. Do you know where I put import random? That there now is telling me I want to use that library. Okay, because I want it to be a random number between 1 and how many? How many sides? What am I going to do? Is it 6? Are you sure?
No, it's not.
What?
It has 6 sides, but
Does the dice have 6 sides? No, you're right. A standard dice has, yes. But dice can also have more than 6 sides.
Oh, but they're putting on.
So I'm putting that in, aren't I? Yeah. So I'm already inputting that in. This is where now it takes this now from a standard GCSE question into something a bit higher. So just watch this. Watch this, okay? So now what I'm going to do is randint brackets 1, 2 sides. Okay? And then I'm going to print result. Now, first things first, what is that doing? So, if I just scroll it up a little bit. Yes. So, first of all, this is our input, yeah? Happy with that? This is our integer. We're telling it it's going to be a number. Okay? What this next is doing is it's got for I in range num of dice. Why do I want to loop around it, the number of the dice that are there? Good, yes. So let's just say I've got 6 dice in my hand. I want to loop that around 6 times. Okay? And what do I want to loop around? Well, I want to loop around this. I want to loop around this. So what will now happen is this. You ready? So imagine my number of dice. Does this work if I do that? Yes, same as ours. So imagine now I have got here my number of dice. How many dice should we have? Let's just say we've got 4 dice. Okay? So dice num equals to 4. Happy with that so far, yeah? The next part now is my sides. Let's just say I've got 6 sides as a standard dice as an example. So this side will equal to 6. So what all this will do is, instead of sides, it'll just say 6. Because it's a variable, okay? So it doesn't matter what number we put in there. It'll still happen the same way. And then outside the loop, it'll then just print out the results. Okay? We could even put that inside the loop, and it'll just print underneath each line. Okay? So this dice num, this is where students will get confused. They'll go, well, say, what's this? What's the dice num? Let's run it and see. So if I run that program, put in 4, and then run the sides, and I'm putting 6, that means dice num, that will equal to 4, and that will equal to 6. And then all of a sudden, these just look at what that data is there. That's all it's doing. Okay? Have I lost anyone so far? Abby?
So what was the result?
Okay, well, let's have a look.
And what's that one for the sides?
Because we're going to start at 1. So it's 1 to however many. So it's going to 1 to 6, or 1 to 8, or 1 to 10, or 1 to whatever. So if we've got 10 sides, we can have numbers 1 to 10. Exactly, yeah. But let's have a look. So B, dice roll. Okay, how many dice do you have? Let's use 4 as an example. How many sides does it have? Let's use 6. Okay, it'll now do it once. Okay, why is that? Okay, I have put the print outside of the loop, haven't I? I have put the print outside of the loop. Okay, so if I put that now inside of the loop, what should now happen? Okay. Again, this is what I will always do. I'll always do mistakes so the students can sort of track back. Say you forgot this, say you forgot that. I think we explained that, didn't we, last time? So again, B, which is my thing. So how many dice do you have? I've got 4 dice. How many sides I have? It'll have 6. Okay, and now it'll tell me I've got 4 dice, so that's dice number 1, randomly give me 5. Dice 2, give me randomly 3. Dice 3, give me randomly 5, so on and so forth. If I do it again, I should, in theory, now get different numbers. Let's just say I've got 4 dice again, and I've got 6 sides. Same thing again. going back to what you said before about will it include the 10? Yes, it does, because I put 6 in there, and if you notice, I've randomly got 6 here at the end. Okay? Any questions? Hit me. What up? Random import at the top, yes. Exactly, yeah. So imagine there at the top, if I didn't have, watch what happens if I didn't have random. If I just hash that out now, right, and I do this. So if I put in B, I've got 4, and it's a 6-sided dice. Random is not defined. You've got to import the random at the very top for you then to use that library.
If you have like 10 sides,
Ten. And that dice is just a scenario, isn't it? You've got 30 kids in the class. Pick out 5 random kids, 5 random numbers out of 30, for instance. It doesn't matter what the scenario is, but using dice is an easier way because students can physically understand what a dice is, can't they? Yeah. It'll start at 1. Yeah. If I start at 0, it'll include 0. So technically you could get 0 as one of the answers. Okay. Any questions? Everyone happy with that? Yeah.
See the input random. Is it okay to just put it at the top of the started function?
You try.
What?
Just try.
And it does work.
It does work, yeah. What I would always suggest though is any library imports, do them at the top of the program. So if you need to use it in another subroutine somewhere else, it's already done, isn't it? It's just a good practice. Because otherwise, sorry, import random, yeah, in loads of different subroutines. Otherwise, if you want to use it in more than one subroutine, you will have to import random in each different subroutine. Everyone happy with that, yeah? There's the program. Let's have a go. That's all it is, yeah.
You just say the numbers equal 2, 5, 7, 8, you want £100.
That's all it is. That's all it is. So you could, it's frowned upon to use that example at school, but I kind of know what you mean. You wouldn't use that in a classroom, but exactly right. Exactly right.
I don't know. One the other day, like on tour with Turtle, and then it drew all the shapes and stuff.
It's the same, like, so someone creates a turtle,
Yeah.
and then just everyone can now use turtle because it's automatically installed as a package inside the Python. Exactly.
Did you all find that when you're half there as well, Caroline? Yours is so your review day will be on the 4th. That week. The 11th. The 11th, yours will be the week before, but then you have to go to school afterwards. Anybody else finishing early?
Yeah. Well, starting next week, I think, yeah. Oh, no. I'm going to go back after half term now. So I can have the half term.
It's your days, you've got 8 days, obviously. Right.
Does your school do that PSHE? Actual, like, oh my God, it's so nice to surprise and think what's happening, like.
Our PSHE is embedded inside of our phone time, so we've got half an hour in the morning. So instead of having 10 minutes of phone time, we make that a proper half an hour lesson in the morning.
How great it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we did economy. A bit cat. That was pure dry.
Friday on yours is like PD day. So the PD day you're doing on Friday anyway. You'll be doing, you finish at 12 and then you do the review with me afterwards.
Okay, so it's not
And then the week after, when you're back in, still going in 4 days because you're not expected to be on Friday.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You have a day off because we're off.
You know what I'll do, guys, while looking at the time, we'll leave troubleshooting until after the lunch, okay? And then you'll be able to get in a couple of challenges in that time as well. That's probably my fault for maybe talking too much like you and me, but it is. It is.
Yeah, that's it. Stuff we can start because
there, yeah. So you see the plus in the bottom right hand corner.
Oh, yeah.
If you click on the plus, you see the little like share icon there now, and then you should be able to go on to download. You download it now, and then at least you've got a copy of that, so just in case the browser refreshes.
You want to leave your laptop and what the scan you can?
If we're good, I'll just put it back in my bag.
All right, that's
Yeah.
fine.
No problem. So as you can see now, this could quite easily be a nice little project for like sort of 6 weeks with like year 11. You can just add on to more functions, and it'll become really complex. At the end of it, what I made that? What? In theory, it's only mini programs that you have in separate programs. But if you make a little main menu system, they can then just sort of jump between the two, and like sort of as and when. And again, don't forget, underneath there, and outside the loop, I'm going to put a menu there. So once I've done this, I'll then loop back around again to our menu as well. Okay, I'll just add that there as well. The what? But is all this sort of making a bit of sense? Yeah. Again, just fire away at loads of questions. I prefer that rather than just. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Unreal.
Because it's 27 minutes. Wow, that's a dull stop, that isn't it?
It is like proper basic.
It's fun sailing for your lesson plan.
Tier 15s, they're doing game design. Very basic. They're using this thing called Game Maker. It's really, really basic. Is that a dot or a comma?
So that's fine. Is that?
Sorry,
What's
What's
that?
into one?
It is Pearson.
Oh, here's the. Yeah. So is that on the? Is that on the? Is that on the thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
It might be going to a Queen's a bit bad tomorrow.
Did an exam there last week on a making the game
Hey? Yeah. Get a haircut for that's what it was. Where's your no, it's kind of near where I live. It's just up the road, just on Brown Blue Hill.
It's always got to be underneath what you're querying. So if you ask a question, it's always got to be underneath that, so we understand what it's querying. Otherwise, it's in the middle of nowhere and it doesn't understand what it's doing.
Resurrection. All these heavy treasures that one get. Yeah. Good. Very good. I thought you were looking at I was like, no, very good.
So as long as you don't understand the logic, it's fine. Yeah, it's different to SUW.
Yeah.
What we're doing today,
I'm not asked about
can
the
you make sure you put this in your action plan evidence?
Yes.
So you've got to upload stuff. You profile. This is really, really good evidence for that.
Yeah, so I'm going to do now the little login system. Hopefully everyone's got that working. Is everyone got that working, yeah?
Yeah. Good.
Somebody wrote it all in the class. Import random is called at the very top. Just import space random in. Right.
This is Barry's lesson.
It is Barry's lesson, yeah.
Tom around the.
Do you want to talk to him?
Is Barry observing Barry and around the
Yeah, it's not just school. It's very good. Yeah.
big boardroom as well. So I said last week, I was trying on the trousers and the guy was like, come on, straight to the work and go home.
Yes. Okay. That's no problem. What's the line on it? Line 52. Okay, what's wrong at the end of it? There you go. See, as a student, I'd be saying to you there, I'd be see someone next to you, see what you can do, like, you know what I mean? But otherwise, you will just be doing laps around the classroom where you get everything you want.
I've used that one as well, where I'm like, right guys, I'm going to give this a minute.
Yeah.
This fella Joe, he's got it, and they love it. It's like seeing the answer.
This is all like,
Yeah.
The only thing with that is, you've got to stand there. Otherwise, the students might be like trying to elbow each other. Yeah. But it works. It doesn't work because like, great cheating. But it's not. You just instead of taking the pressure off, it's taking pressure off you then because you know someone's working. So, right, guys. So our last one, we've got 20 minutes. A login system just takes it a little bit further now. Okay, a little bit further. Once we've then done that, we'll then do a troubleshooter after lunch. Okay. I think it was important to do, you know, the guess the weather at the start, just so you can get the basics first, and now you scaffold. You can see now how once you become an experienced sort of programmer as such, if you scaffold it, it makes the bits afterwards sort of really easy. Yeah, so we just scaffold, we're using skills that we've used before. Again, we're going to use more, like another for loop now, so it's another skill that we've used before. I'm now going to add in a 2D array now. Okay, so again, it's another scaffold on top of it now, isn't it? Same skills, just we're going to add in now a 2D array. Okay, still an error? I'm now going to give you 30 seconds. You've got 30 seconds to fix it. But it's neat, isn't it? It makes the program look so neat.
You're right, efficiently, that would save you so much time.
This is how top. If you imagine you're like playing on like the Xbox, for instance, so you know, like so I play. I've just bought sort of GTA over Christmas on the Xbox, and you know to like sort of to drive a car, for instance, it'd be like if in car, and if the back right button's pressed, speed the car up, and a little function exactly. Yeah. So it'd be like accelerate, a little subroutine, and then we'll just say accelerate, and that'll then refer to another one that'll have all like the how fast the car is and all that kind of stuff. But it just refers back to loads of different things, like you know what I mean. If you imagine big games like that, the program becomes dead complex, but the main actual program will look something like this.
Yeah,
But it'll just look at things in the background, like you know what I mean. Or just do that. What they'll do is they'll actually have them in different files rather than in the same one.
they import them at the top.
Just boom.
Well, I always think I can make the programming what's called the nice.
Yeah.
GTA is a mad game of things you can do.
So my little 2-year-old absolutely loves it as well. He goes Xbox. He just likes to play in the car, like you know what I mean. He doesn't know how to use the little joystick, but he just goes forward and backwards and just start. He just starts running over people and everything.
Shows how good a game that is, 10 years later, it's still in high demand.
Yeah, well, I mean, I only bought it because it was something like a $5 on the Xbox and Microsoft store, like you know what I mean. I thought, yeah, because I was getting FIFA at the same time, so I thought I'll just get that as well.
It seems like a year ago or 2 years ago, they made more money that year than they did the year it came out.
I suppose because everything else sounds like, you know what I mean. So that was like,
We got into it mad again, so we did a product that over Christmas.
Oh, I love it.
Dre, we got DJs in London.
That's right, yeah, they did in nightclubs.
I know.
I'm happy with it. Oh man. Oh, I won the car. I won the car a few weeks ago. It's a second, but.
At least if you're doing a login system, you just don't
Oh, it's fine.
whatever it is, and then we can fix that in the background. Right, guys, okay. Here we go. Let's get this login system done. Okay, let's get this login system done, and then we're all boxed, ready for some lunch, because I am absolutely starving. Yeah. Right. Okay. So again, I'm going to do the same as what I've done before. I'm going to try and use the same variables, but every time I look at my code, I'm thinking, why have you used that variable name? Like, you know what I mean? So I will probably start putting in sort of sensible variable names inside of here. Okay. Again, just going back to, so we've got a problem there with Abby's code and stuff, and it'll probably be something as simple as a bracket or a speech mark or something like that, like, you know what I mean, that we just need to look at. By using a function, that means now the program will still run as long as we don't press B, which is for the sort of the array. So if there's still a program that's slightly not working, we can still move on as a class. The program will still run because we're not technically using that subroutine yet. So again, you then won't stop the flow of your lesson now. All right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So again, here we go. So login system. So this login system is going to now start with a 2D array. Again, if you just listen in. So watch what I'm doing first. Stop me if you've got any queries. Okay. Stop me if you've got any queries. Okay. Look at this. So users will equal to. Now I'm going to set up now my 2D array. Okay. Now this will look pretty strange. So I'm going to put Adam in there. I'm going to put in my username will be Adam and my password will be Liverpool. Let's put in that like that. Let's put in tag. Double T, isn't it? Taggart. The tag art. Okay. So that now is my 2D array. Okay. It's a list of lists. Okay. So I just want to talk through this because this is the only new skill. The only new skill against everything else we've done before. Okay. So where's that pen I had before? There it is. In an array, okay, in an array, it will start counting at 0. All arrays will start counting at 0. So like I said, it's a list of lists. Yeah? So my main list, these two will be 0. These two then will be number 1. Okay? But then inside of there then, I've got another list, haven't I? So instead of 0, I've now got another list. And that, so Adam, what number will that be? 0. And what will Liverpool be? Okay? That is called a 2D array, so it's a list of lists. So I've got my big list, which is there, but then I've got a list inside of each sort of element. If you wanted to do a 1D array, it'd just be a single item inside of there, okay? But if you'll notice, I've got square brackets this time. I haven't got round brackets, I've got square brackets. That's a misconception. A lot of students will try and use the sort of rounded brackets rather than the square brackets, okay? That is the only difference. That data now is stored as users. So I can now, if I wanted to now, okay, what I'll do, I'm going to print users. Okay, I just want you just to sort of get used to it. So if I put in here now users, what number is my login system? C, sorry, letter. Screen's frozen.
It's nothing worse when you do that in lesson, the kids don't tell you.
So here I'm going to put in C, and now it'll just print out exactly what's in there. It just prints out that as sort of as a bit of data, okay, and that can be whatever you want. Okay, does that make sense to people at the moment? Yeah. You okay with that? Yeah. Yeah. So now inside of there now. Okay. So I'm just going to get rid of that just for now. So I just need to. I've got to declare a couple of variables, and I can't remember what I've used here. That's it. So I'm going to put in here username equals to input. Okay, I haven't put an integer because all of my pieces of data are all strings. Okay, I'm going to put in here what is your username. Oh, okay, what is your username? Bam. This is where now things can get a little bit sort of trickier at times. Okay, so I just want you just to listen in. So we've got this. So we've got 4 iron range. And it's going to be the length of users. Okay. Why is it going to be the length of users? Good, yes. It will check everything inside the user. So len stands for the length of the list. So if I've got 1,000 people in there, that's going to loop around 1,000 times for the whole list. Okay, it's going to check everything in there. Okay. Now what it'll now do is this, and this is where it can get. Once you understand this, it'll become easier on why we use iron range. Okay, this is why I wanted to. Not necessarily I explained it before, but this is now putting it into practice now why we use I. Okay, so we're going to put in this if users, I'll put square brackets I, then a square brackets 0. Okay, is equal to username. What's that doing? Does anyone has to guess what that's doing? Because I've got 0, haven't I? Okay, yeah. So because I've got 0, it's looking at, remember when I wrote on the board, Adam is 0, Hope is 0, blah, 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 blah. The iteration, the I is looping around the whole list. Okay, so the first one loops around everything. Okay, it'll look at this list, so on and so forth. Okay?
So if you didn't put that I in there,
Yeah.
it would only look at
It would look at that.
the first one.
Okay? If I didn't have them two, it would just look at that. But it would look at that. But because I put iteration, so it'll now look at, so imagine I'm on my first iteration. You look at the first thing in the list. Then you look at location 0, which is that one there. If it's not that, then I'll move on to the next one because I've used a for loop. Okay? It'll then move on to the next one. That's why we've got to declare that I. If you wanted to, that I could be user. And inside there, you could put user instead of the I as an example. That's fine. But just for some students, that might be better. But in exam conditions, basically in examinations, they will always use I or use K or use P as an example. You can show that in class, just change it up. It'll work exactly. It's just a variable name at the end of the day. It just that will store the number in where it is in the iteration. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So if it equals to that, print. You are a registered user. Now, inside of there, now I need to do the following: if users iteration, which one am I going to look at now? Number 1 equals to. So I haven't done. Okay. That's using something called a nested if statement. Because I've got an if inside of an if. Why have I done that though? Exactly, yes. And what it'll do is, because I've stopped at that iteration, it'll just stay at that iteration. It won't move on. Okay? So let's run it. Let's see if it works. Here's what it makes a fool out of me now, watch. So what letter was it again? Let's have a look at C. Okay. What's my username? Adam. You're a registered user. What's my password? What was it, Liverpool? Okay. Fine, I'll run that and try and get something different. If I put in C, username, gobbledygook, it'll just end it. Okay. You could then put an else in there with like a little message. If you wanted to, you could put a little while true loop in there just to loop around. It's a basic login system. It works, and then you guys then can obviously put your building blocks on top of it.
So the while true, is that you try?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Else in there at the end.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it says. Yeah. So you put an else. A username incorrect. Please try again.
So
But I haven't done it.
that would be sort of like the system, like Microsoft, sign into Microsoft, so I could ask your username first, and then if that's not right, it wouldn't let you on the password.
Exactly that.
And
Yes.
put something in like say you only have 3 goes.
Yeah. So that's just basically a loop counter. So you just put a for loop in, so loop around 3 times. So inside of there, you would then put you could then put if k is in range of 3, great. If you exceed 3, it'll stop.
So see like signing into like Facebook,
Yes.
that wouldn't use that type of,
It wouldn't use that,
because
no.
that's putting your username
At the same
and
time,
password
yes. But using this is a lot more secure. If you think of Microsoft, when you log into Microsoft, you've got to put in your email. If it knows you've got a valid Microsoft account, it'll then look then at your password for that account, won't it? It'll normally personalise the background, from like school or whatever you are. Any questions? Yes. Yes.
Do you always have to write them in? What if it was like a big company that I assume is obviously not somebody that's going to do that? Would it somehow store it?
But what would happen then is it will store in an external file. And then what it'll then do is it'll just have a column saying username and a column saying password. It'll work exactly the same way. It'll just read that data rather than it being in there.
So say if this is like degree level or something,
Yeah.
you'd be doing something like that.
Yes. A level you'd be doing that as well. But just for GCSE, this is sort of exactly. This is just once we get to sort of read and write, which is in the troubleshooting system, that's where you can kind of see how we can create sort of files and all that kind of stuff. You can use a CSV, yeah, but what we'd normally use for GCSE is just a text file, which is it'll just open up in like notebook, or notepad, whatever it is. Yeah. Any questions? Anyone queried on that or anything like that? No. Okay. We have now got all of 3 minutes left. Get typing like the clappers, and then we can all go for lunch. If you're using like create.with code, once you've done this, then you download the code so you've got it in your area. Then okay. Yeah.
Because they've been using one in school, I'm like copy and paste it. So you can actually download it.
So you see the little plus in the bottom right hand corner. There's the little plus. You see that there? You click on that, and then go on to download. And it'll just download it as a Python. You can also open it. You can also open a Python file now as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, use the same way. Pretty straightforward.
Our technician at our school doesn't want to download Python because we're idle, because he's scared in case someone uses it to get into the network. And that's it, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah, no, he's a.
Did you say idle?
Yeah,
Idle was trash.
horrendous, but like, even at that, he's not going to allow it.
That's why I use this.
That's
It's
what I
nice. It's sort of easy to
That's
use.
what
That's what I use as well. But I don't think we're prepared all the time.
So hopefully you have gained confidence in these first 2 hours now. So I can let you have it now after lunch with a big piece program next. I people don't know, don't do that. Surely you built up your confidence now just by doing this. It's not scary. You just gotta sort of get out. Once you got out back early, you're all right. Push him. But now it's probably you've had a bit. Now you can do it. But this video, I'll stop back. You know what? I'll stop this now actually.